Are you tired of repeating the same mistake over and over again in your relationship, whether it's with a partner, with your friends, or with your family? Well, I believe that the number one mistake, and we're going to cover it in this video, is taking each other for granted. Now, when I say take each other for granted, I mean the difference between the beginning of a relationship and it could be 2 months, it could be 3 months, it could be 2 years, but there's a time when we stop doing the little things that we were doing at the beginning, making the effort, emptying the dishwasher, putting your washing in the washing machine, doing things around the house, telling somebody that you love them every single morning, every single evening, those little messages throughout the day to make sure that the other person's all right. When it comes to friendships, when you first meet someone, you always shake hands when you see them, but after a while, you stop shaking hands because now you're familiar with them, and you don't need to do that every time. You don't need to tell your partner that you love them because they already know that you love them because you've told them so many times. But when we start taking our foot off this accelerator of love, if you like, or happiness between each other, then slowly but surely cracks start to form. Now, it's very easy for this to happen because over time we build a familiarity between ourselves and other people. And like I mentioned before, when you do this, you start to take a step back and think, well, I don't need to do that anymore. You know, they already know how I feel. I don't need to do this for them. I don't need to do this. So those extra little bits seem to have fallen off the radar. And this is when problems start to arise. Quite often, what people tend to do is they start to measure what they're getting in return. All of a sudden, it's not a case of, I'll do anything for you. It's a case of, well, what have you done for me to do that for you? You know, when you've got a partner who's constantly asking you for things, constantly asking for favours, perhaps isn't as organised as you, or perhaps vice versa. And after a while, you start to think, well, hang on a minute, I'm doing everything for you, but you're doing nothing for me. So this is when communication comes in, because if you let this continue as a pattern, then it never stops. I mean, we've all heard of that phrase, you give someone an inch and they take a mile. And this is the same in relationships, but you can nip it in the bud and set a precedent by communicating and saying, listen, I'm happy with this, I'm not so happy with that. But when you say it at the beginning, then there's no issues, but you have to keep it up. You have to keep your end of the bargain and make sure that the other person is as well. And when you do this, you avoid taking each other for granted. Not 100%, it's very difficult, but at least you make an effort. Now, there's lots of things and lots of reasons why we take each other for granted, and I'm going to name just a few of them right now. Firstly, we can have the lack of appreciation because everything that was good just starts to become normal. So when you get into a relationship, perhaps there's something in this relationship that's much better than a previous relationship. Perhaps the person has more time for you, or they like to buy you more gifts, or you go to different kind of places, it's more adventurous. But then after a while, just like anything in life, something that was really good at the beginning just becomes normal, and then all of a sudden we take it for granted. So this is where you have to really focus on your gratitude. You have to be thankful for everything in the moment and check yourself. You have to be thankful for your partner, and it's really good to communicate with your partner why you're with them. You know, all the good things, not just the physical attributes, all the other things, and you focus on them, but you're mindful of these things as well for yourself. You're not just telling your partner for their benefit to make them feel amazing, although it will. You're also focusing on this list, on this gratitude list, because when you say it out loud, you're making them feel good, but you're also checking yourself. You know, you're saying, oh, you know, this is it. This is why I love you, because, you know, you do this for me, and you ask how I am when you know I've had a bad day, or you let me just sit there in silence when you know I need to sit there in silence. You know me, you know, and it's very, very important that we really acknowledge these things, and then that whole problem of taking each other for granted gets pushed away, because we're a team, and this is the most important thing to remember: teamwork. One common reason that you can get complacent and take the other person for gratitude, unfortunately, is when you feel safe in a relationship, maybe at the beginning of the relationship, we're under the impression that we're very lucky to be with this person. This person could be with anyone. Why have they chosen me? And it's so funny to either be in that situation, which I've been in, or see that situation, and then all of a sudden, they're mine. That's it. They're mine now. They're not going to leave me. They love me. And then all of a sudden, the rules change, and the person can turn around to their partner and say, well, how come you stop doing that? And it's like, oh, well, you know, I didn't always used to do that in my old relationship. It's almost like an act. So these are things to be really careful of. Forget about the safety. You've got to treat the other person. You know, they're the most precious thing in the world, and don't do things at the beginning that you're not prepared to do all the time. There's this thing where we win people over, and that's fine to a degree. We're all capable of doing that. We all do this. But what I'm saying is we need to find a level. We need to find a consistent level and communicate what this level is, what we're doing for each other, and how it's going to work. But this all comes back to communication. Communication is key for any relationship. One of the biggest reasons for complacency again and this lack of gratitude in some cases, you know, I've seen it all, and of course to get yourself into this often is the mindfulness, the lack of mindfulness, you know, just going with the flow. And this is the same with everything in life, going to work, visiting friends, everything, when you think about it, because we stop making choices. We don't know what we're doing in the moments that we're doing things. We can drive from A to B and not even remember doing it. But the first time you drove, you're very conscious. First gear, second gear, third, doing this, looking in the mirror, looking over there, checking this. But then all of a sudden, just driving down the street, no problems in the world, mindfulness is gone. You're just living in autopilot. This is what we do in all situations. We come home from work, are you right? Yeah, love you. You don't say anything with any meaning. It's just love you because you just say it. Love you, kiss on the cheek, love you, kiss on the cheek, sit down. Be mindful. Be mindful of everything. You know, stop thinking about whatever it is you're thinking about and live it in the moment. So you could be busy talking to someone on the phone, and then afterwards you're sort of in a daze, and you're like, you know, you're in a situation where you should be caring and you should be kind, but your mind's still over here. Mindful, check yourself, kick yourself out of that situation or in this situation and give your best, just like we all do at the beginning of a relationship. And this is what we're all guilty of. Getting past that hurdle, then all of a sudden it's almost like sometimes the truth comes out, the reality hits. But this is really important, like I said, to hit the level of consistency that can be kept and just stay with it. That's key. So like I said, gratitude is a huge thing. Be thankful. Realize why you're thankful to be in this situation. It's key. Make the list, focus on it. Be mindful. Be mindful of not taking the other person for granted. Be mindful of their feelings. You know that the other person might require things that somebody else wouldn't, or even things that you don't require, but they require them because we're all different and we do require certain things. You know, sometimes you can do something for someone and they don't say thank you. Might not bother you, but it might bother someone else. And you know if it bothers your partner or not. So you just do what they need, you know, and you do it for you and you do it for them. Also, it's a great idea to sort of go back to the beginning of the relationship in your mind and think, well, hang on a minute, what did I used to do that I don't do now? And check yourself and think, well, hang on a minute, I used to organise these dates, I used to have these surprises, you know, used to leave notes, used to send messages, and thought, no, what am I doing? Nothing. So this is the thing, go back to the beginning. And if it's the other person that's not doing the things, then talk to them about going back to the beginning and say, fresh start, let's go back to the beginning, all these nice things that we did for each other, let's reignite the fire and let's do all these things again. We'll start from scratch and get these messages, these little notes that you find in the fridge. I used to write things in a book that my girlfriend was reading, like a little on a page, so eventually she'll get to it and we could be on holiday and also she'll start laughing because she's found it. You know, all things like this that we all do at the beginning of relationships, that we get complacent, take each other for granted, and we just stop doing them. So this is the key. Get back to the basics, get back to the beginning, reignite that fire and start doing things that we did at the beginning. And this works. Well, obviously this works 100% because it won and got you in the winning seat. But the idea is to keep winning. You know, I always say, never stop dating the person you're with. Never stop dating. Are you with, are you with this person? Yeah, we're dating. Oh, right, you've only just met. We've been together for 16 years. Like, what do you mean you're still dating? We date every single week. We meet for coffee, we meet for lunch, we go out for dinner. We do all these nice things that everybody does when they're dating. We keep it fresh. We stop taking each other for granted. This is another key. We all slip up and we all take our foot off the accelerator and we all take each other for granted to a certain extent from time to time in all our relationships. And the best thing is when you find a problem, you can find a solution. And this is what it's all about. Checking yourself, checking your partner, sitting down, working as a team, communicating, taking it back to the beginning, taking it back to basics, and realizing what you want and communicating it, and realizing what the other person wants and giving it to them. Forget about complacency, forget about taking each other for granted, love each other, and treat each other as the number one priority, because that's exactly what you both are. So that's it. That's my 2 pennies worth or 2 cents worth, depending on where you are in the world, on what I believe is one of the biggest mistakes in relationships, which is taking each other for granted. And it doesn't have to be like that. I know people that have broke up because the communication has never been enough, and it's just gone too far. When all it would have taken is a regular sort of check-in, almost like a management meeting every month. I know it sounds silly, but a check-in saying, how are you feeling? How are you? And then when you do it, nip it in the bud like this, the problems are small and the solutions are easy to find. So this is what it's all about. In my mind, this is what it's all about. Comment below what you think, because there's lots of reasons for taking each other for granted that I haven't mentioned. There's lots of solutions for it as well, so I'd love to get your feedback. If you've enjoyed this video, then please subscribe, share it with a friend, and if you're interested, on my website, you can click the link below. We have a relationship bundle with lots of hypnotherapy audios that I've created for lots of different aspects to help with relationships. So check it out, have a great day, and from all of us here at New Mindset Hypnotherapy, we will see you in the next video.